And after a year and a half of baseball, he came back and still won another one. So that's okay.
When you get suspended for betting, you got to do what you got to do. But
blasphemy, lies.
These two brown guys love basketball. Brown guys love basketball. Who doesn't love basketball? So let's talk basketball. I said, let's talk basketball.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Brown Guys Basketball podcast.
So proud. I was nervous. I was nervous for you.
I can't promise that I won't make the mistake again, but it's like ingrained in my mind to not just say Brown Guys podcast, because then we got to talk about our parents, then we got to talk about our upbringing. Like, it's a whole different podcast.
Can you imagine this was just a Brown Guys podcast?
Yeah, just arranged marriages, how to avoid.
Would it be more popular or less popular? I don't know.
You know what it would? I think it would be really popular because the kids would be downloading it but not telling their parents. Like,
legitimately, how many billions of people though could we have on this podcast as just guests? We wouldn't have to worry about basketball.
We wouldn't even have to talk. Yeah, there'd be no basketball involved.
Yeah, Uncle
Tips on how to date a white girl.
We could have Sonia on the podcast.
Just everyone, you name it.
Tell us your thoughts on Brown Guys, Sonia.
Instead, we're idiots because we want to talk about basketball.
Lame. So lame.
It's fine. I mean, there's a lot to talk about this week. So we wanted to get started this week with this just in. We've got some news breaking today. Russell Westbrook, you know, your favorite player, is coming off the bench today in the Lakers game. So
yeah, I love this. This is what I want for him. I think, look, I know who Russell Westbrook is. I know what he's going through. I know all this issues. It doesn't look good, obviously, but this guy's still 33?
Yeah, he's definitely on the second half of his.
For sure, second half, but he's 33, the league leader in triple doubles. There is still ability there. I think collectively as a society, we've ruined Russell Westbrook, and like watching him shoot and losing that shot. I don't think that that's like a necessarily just a detriment of the player. I think he's like, you can't not overthink what's happening to him. So him moving to the bench, hopefully now he can do like a John Wall situation and come out and just completely crush it like John Wall is. Because like, I think, again, we won't get into LeBron, but I think it's hard to find a rhythm sometimes on those teams. And he's not playing well. And I don't think he's Russell Westbrook of old, but I think he still has merit in this league. I think he still has ability, and hopefully this helps.
You sound like the guys on his payroll. Like, I imagine he just has guys like this all day being like, Russ, you're the league leader in triple doubles. And he's like, I know. And I'm like, this guy has no self-awareness. The other night, I mean, I don't want to get into the 0 for 11 night. It's fine. I'm not going to talk about the Lakers. I'm just going to stretch real quick and just show everyone my shirt that I have on today. But anyways.
And I'll just drink some of Michael's secret stuff. That's all.
So I'll give you my first reaction. I saw a headline and I just glanced at it quickly and it said Russell Westbrook and it said the word bench. And I thought like, oh, they're finally doing it. They're finally just sending him home and like benching him until they trade him, right? No, he's coming off the bench, and I mean, it's the best I could hope for. LeBron can't play 40-some minutes a night every night. You need someone to have creation off the bench. I just think the issue with Westbrook is it does not seem like he's the type of person who embraced that role. This seems like a kicking and screaming type of situation. You know what I mean? Like, that
does worry me for sure. Like, you're not wrong. His greatest attribute and his worst negative is that his weakness is that he believes in himself so aggressively, and he goes out and he tries and he cares so hard. And that's why people like him, because he's just like, I'm not going to stop shooting. I'm not going to quit because I know I still have this ability. He's probably watching himself in practice every day, and he knows how fast he is. He knows how he can still get by people. He can still get to the rim. It's just a matter of now, I think, getting over the hurdle in his head that we've all done to Russell Westbrook, watching him slowly just become a lesser version of himself and telling him that every day, to the point where now he's like, oh, I can't hit a shot. So I know he has merit. I believe 18 minutes off the bench. I've seen it work for a lot of players who don't necessarily have to have 40 every night and do all this stuff anymore. And I'm just hoping for him because he still looks good out there, and I want him to be able to do it. You've seen players slow down. He's not.
I just don't think he looks good out there. That's kind of where we differ in opinion. I think he looks lost. I get the steals on defense and he's trying, but like some of the plays where he's so far out of position, backdoor cuts, and to me, it doesn't reek of someone who has earned the minutes that he thinks he deserves. Like if you're not making shots, your movement on offense is minimal, and on defense, let's say you're an even split at 0. That to me is not someone who should be on the floor for 35 minutes a game. So
when I say he looks good, I don't mean I don't mean mentally. Mentally, you're 100% right in the way that he's playing. I'm watching it and it looks like it's trouble. But physically, if you have those physical attributes and you've done it before, you've done it at such a high level before, I think that can translate still into something in this league.
Do you think there might be a little bit of the AI effect, right? Where AI was so good for so many years, and then when it's not like with Westbrook, it's gone because the athleticism is still there, but like the mental side of being able to come off of the bench, the mental side of being able to not be the ball dominant leader, that probably was harder for AI than anything else.
Yeah, that's exactly the metaphor I've used for Westbrook. It looks like the exact same thing, what we're watching. It looks like we're seeing AI all over again. But the thing with AI is that the way he played basketball was very different. Russell is so good at doing so many small things besides scoring, rebounding, playing defense, finding open players. He has done all that his entire career. And that stuff usually gets better as you get older, unless everybody keeps yelling that you suck, you suck, you suck. You start believing it. As much as he says he doesn't listen to this stuff, you're watching him in real time believe it. Yeah. But AI had a very different game. He was scoring 30 a night. He was speeding past people. And what happened with him was he lost some of his quickness. And if you lose that and that's your game, it's going to change. And if you can't change, very similar to what Russell's going through right now, he's got to mold himself into more of a facilitator, more of a guy that goes to the basket, moves the break, maybe not take as many shots until you find it again. But I just think watching him out there, he has merit, he has ability. It's all still there. If he can put it together in some sort of new game, maybe off the bench, hopefully he accepts it. I would love that. I think he can do it.
I don't think he can do it. The one thing I'll say about his defense is I'm going to reference something that maybe 6 people who listen to this podcast have ever even seen. My guilty pleasure show was Glee. And in Glee, I learned of this term called hairography. And what hairography is when people are doing a dance number and what you see is them shaking their hair a lot in every move they do, because the dancing itself is actually subpar, but the amount of things that people are seeing are stimulating them into thinking that this is a like really excellent dance number. And what I think Russell Westbrook does on defense is hairography. A lot of arm movements, a lot of like quick pivots, but in reality, when he's off ball on defense and even sometimes on ball, he is so behind the offensive play. And it's been like that for years. That's where I think my concern with Westbrook is he's not changing himself on the defensive end. Those steals against Kawhi in the post, those are highlights that Westbrook's going to be replaying in his head over and over again. And those are great individual defensive plays. But on a like flow of basketball play-to-play level, Westbrook's defense is very subpar now. And I don't know how long it's been like that for. It's been like that in LA, and I know there's last year's in OKC were like that, but the difference was OKC, his usage was so high. You almost kind of forgive guys defense on like being subpar when the ball is always in their hands.
No, it's just like everything is being highlighted because he doesn't even have the things that made Russell. So now we're looking at everything. Whereas before, when you're a guy that can get a triple-double every night, you will forgive some of his lapses on defense because it's a part of his aggression, who he is. He goes for steals. He does all this stuff. He's just running around all over the place. For sure, hairography. But the thing is, especially on defense, but the thing is, if you know Beyonce can dance, if she's doing hairography, you're like, it's okay, because I know underneath all that, you can still do it. And that's how I feel about him right now. I do see a lot of flailing. I do see a lot of issue, but I know this guy can dance. I've seen him do it, and I know there's still ability in there. And I know he's going to pop it out one day. Oh my God, in a month or two, I'm just praying that he's not out for 11. Because I will come on this podcast and I will say, I will 100% say you were correct. Because I'm so like holding on, I need this. This is a moment we need to talk about consistently so we can keep me honest on this show.
No, we'll check in on this. Don't worry. I'm very curious to see. And as for the Beyonce analogy, before we move on, my concern is we've been watching Kelly Rowland this whole time, but it's been the hairography has tricked us into thinking that it's Beyonce. So that I'm going to leave it at that.
He's Beyonce. Also, I have to apologize everybody for my hairography right now because I'm filming something and I have to have this Michael Jordan on my face. It's a goat.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but
so there's a nice big goat on my face.
If we're going to
apologize everybody that's watching.
If we're going to address the caterpillar on your upper lip, I guess we could say your inspiration. Are you filming a junior high school, like going through puberty version of
this is college
show,
musical? This is college musical. So just past High School Musical, where they're like, oh, this guy he's becoming an older person and he can't sing yet. So like I'm doing the whole can you feel, and then all of a sudden it just drops really low. It's really
I like it. I'm ready for it. All right, moving on here. We got an interesting one. This one, okay, so before we talk about the story, let's talk about the person. So Ben Simmons and Russell Westbrook, it's a perfect transition because what do we all complain about Russell Westbrook doing? It's doing too much, shooting when he's not a good shooter, and being just kind of not self-aware as to his limitations on the court, right? Those are all of our complaints. What are our complaints about Ben Simmons? Why won't he shoot the ball? Why is he always in his head? Why doesn't he just play the game with more free flow? And why? So is there just two complete opposite players in the league more than these two in terms of what their downfalls are? Because it's almost like those two need to be melded into one. I mean, it would be the worst shooter in the league, but like they have, you know what I mean? But they'd have some aggressiveness. They'd get to the hole because those two are, it's like the version of Ben Simmons that we hate is equal to the version of Russell Westbrook that we hate. And we know that we've seen with both of them a version that we like, but it's not there right now. So the story we want to talk about was Kyrie yelling, shoot, when Ben Simmons was in the paint. And I'm not sure if you saw the clip. He didn't even look at the basket.
He grabbed the ball and turned the other way as if he was
immediately
running the other side of the court. It was crazy. And it must be frustrating because Katie and Kyrie are balling right now. If Ben Simmons was balling, like that team could actually be decent and play some defense. But it's funny watching Ben Simmons and Westbrook. Those are great examples because I think we're watching in this new NBA the exact same thing happen in a different way where they're both overthinking now everything so much and it's causing them to do the exact opposite, but for the same reason. Because now Ben has been talked about as shooting so much that he can't shoot, but he was never a really try guy. So he doesn't have that thing to push. Whereas Russell is now like, my thing is trying, so I'm going to try harder.
Yeah.
Ben is like, my thing has never been relaxing, do my thing and make flow of the offense. And so he's regressed even more into that. And so it's funny watching just everybody watching them regress, but for the exact same reason. And I think we have to look at Ben Simmons in a very different way because watching that game, we highlight a lot of his negatives as we do now, but it wasn't a terrible game. He's getting better slowly. He's played only 5 games. I mean, granted, they're 1-4, but I think if we start looking at him and hopefully he transitions into more of a Draymond Green type player as a guy who's not necessarily shooting, he can play defense sometimes really well. And hopefully that gets better as old school Ben Simmons on defense, a 6'7" guard on the floor is
his defense was when he was in his, it's so weird saying prime because he's what was 5th year in the league, whatever. But when he was like at the apex of his powers on Philly, his defense, on ball defense was amazing.
And I think that's a thing that can come back because you don't have to think as on defense. It's more like not everybody's yelling at you about your defense all the time.
Yeah,
you
know, and he made machine now. It's so weird.
It's tough. It's tough. Also, it's tough watching him navigate himself on the court, knowing full well he's like, I know how to do this here. And you're just watching someone think so much.
Yeah.
But you can see it all there because he's so young too. And he did get that last steal and assist, which took him into overtime. And it was a great steal and a great assist. In my mind, I'm like, oh, is he going to go for the bucket? Like it was a one-on-one. I was like, nope.
0%. Yeah.
Katie knew he had to jut for the rim because if he didn't, he's like, oh, this guy's not going for it.
It reminded me of I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago when the last year KD was in Golden State when I think it was a tie game and Draymond got the rebound, and KD's like clapping for the ball, right? And Draymond just goes hero mode, and I think he lost the ball, and it ended up going overtime.
He tripped and dropped the ball.
And I'm thinking in that moment, yeah, I think, yeah, because it was against the Clippers, if I'm not mistaken. But I remember KD in that moment. I imagine now when he saw Ben Simmons with the ball, he's like, well, I don't need to clap. I just need to get on the move because there's 0% chance that he's not passing this ball. You know what I mean? Like it was always never going to end in Ben Simmons' hands.
Yep.
It's a different
crazy
world,
to watch. We're watching a completely different league, which is very fun this year. More than in the last couple of years, more than anything, it's felt kind of different coming in the league because there's so much more player movement than there ever has been. But this year specifically, it feels like such a different league.
Yeah.
And I kind of love it.
It's fun because we don't know. I mean, in the long run, you want to have dynasties. It's good for the longevity of the NBA. It brings interest up. But as day-to-day fans, people who are actually watching regular season games, not knowing who's going to win a lot of these games is a lot of fun, right? Like seeing the Jazz come out the way they did. I mean, I know you're in seventh heaven with the Jazz, but it's just one of those things where in the playoffs,
I don't care about the Jazz.
Yeah, I know. It's fine. But I think you agree with when you watch a game and you can have zero expectation as to the outcome because there's so many good players on the floor. It's a lot of fun to watch right now.
It's great. I had League Pass years ago, and I got rid of it because you can't watch games that are playing in your area. So I was like, I couldn't ever watch the Raptors or anybody that I wanted to, or even LA. But now this year I'm thinking about it because there's so many teams that I want to watch on a regular basis.
Oh yeah.
That I'm just like, I want to watch that game. I want to watch that New Orleans Clippers game. You know, I want to watch even the OKC games. I want to watch everything. I want to see what's happening with all these players and all these teams because so much is actively happening.
Yeah, Shea looked good last night.
Really good.
When he plays,
so nice.
When he plays,
when he plays, he's so nice.
It's just one of those things where I never know if he's hurt or if OKC is in strategy mode. It's every game with him. I don't know.
If they get Victor Wembanyama, I will be just like, that team had better be the NBA championships next year.
I don't want them to get him only because I don't want Poku to lose any of his minutes. I love watching.
You're a Poku guy.
I just love. He does not look like an NBA player, but he plays with the confidence of like someone who's built like Zion. You know what I mean?
When you put this podcast together, I would like the audience, in case they don't know who he is, I want them to see Pokuevsky. I want to see a picture of him because I love that you're a Poku guy. Everybody heard it here first.
If you thought KD was skinny, wait till you see Poku because this guy is built like a stick.
I've never seen this time in the NBA for sure. You're watching it be able to pass by a little more where these guys can just come in and be like a stick. They're just these guys that look like they're frail, which worries me injury wise because a lot of guys are getting injured. It's a long season, and if they don't put on some mass, they're just gonna snap. Paul George, you know, it happens.
Chet Holmgren
before he even played a game against LeBron.
Is Chet,
wasn't his fault.
Is Chet hurt or conspiracy theory? OKC really wants Wembanyama. We'll deal with that another day.
No, Chet. No, he wouldn't be able to sit, but that would be hilarious.
Could you imagine?
They just sit their whole team.
I do think there's some irony in Kyrie yelling out the words "take the shot" to anyone.
Yeah,
when he refused for 2 years and counting to take the shot. You know.
Yeah.
Anyways,
moving on. We're dealing with some guys.
I just alienated like half our audience. Anyways, so the last story I want to talk about was just Damian Lillard. He's out now, just hopefully for a short amount of time. But talking about those surprise teams, I kind of had the Blazers on the outside looking in when we talked about them at the beginning, but they kind of look good. Jeremy Grant looks like he fits in there. Nurkic is who we thought he was in terms of like he's fine, does good enough, but obviously I don't think this team can go all the way or anything like that, but I'm happy for Dame. You know what I mean? Losing McCollum and then getting a running mate like Anthony Simons with him, and the team around him actually looks kind of competitive, and it's fun to watch. It's nice for him.
Yeah, it's fun that he has a team that is out there competing. I think a lot of the time it was just him holding the ball and trying to figure out a way to win and hitting these huge shots. He's still hitting these amazing shots. Yeah. But these other players that are playing, and Nurkic, you're right. If he's out there, I don't know how many games he's even going to play anymore. Because when has he played a full season? That's the one thing that worries me about him. And this whole team in general is that somebody get injured, and that's trouble. But also it's the beginning of the season. All this stuff kind of happens where nothing's really regressed to the mean yet, where the teams that were supposed to be good are stressed that they have to be good. So they come out a little nervous, and they're not necessarily playing like the teams they should, where the teams that had nothing to lose come out and they're like, watch this.
Yeah.
And then closer as we get to the All-Star break, we'll start seeing a regression to the mean, and people start playing like they should, and teams not playing as good as they were told that they should not play. And then I think we'll see a little more normalcy. But this season in particular has been a lot more fun because there are so many teams that are playing well that really thought were going to be bad.
No, I agree. I mean, if you look at the standings now, I just wanted to ask you what you think, like basically who's real and who's a fraud, right? So we'll start at the top here. I think we both agree Milwaukee, Boston, even I guess Cleveland, we'd say when they're fully healthy, those are real teams. Atlanta's 3-1. But if you move down the list, we got Miami at 2-4, who, by the way, I was a little bit out on. They played some tough games. They looked good yesterday against Golden State, I must admit. Like they lost that game, but they played well. But so who's real? Who's a fraud? We got Brooklyn in 14th, 1-4. So where do you see Brooklyn finishing at the end of the, in the playoffs, in the play, and where we?
That is so Brooklyn actually is a huge question mark to me because they have so much stuff they have to figure out watching them. Ben Simmons has to figure himself out, and they don't have any culture on the defensive end.
No.
That to me, for a good team, you need to have a defensive identity, and to not have that, you can see it's glaring. They can score. KD and Kyrie, watching them play is actually beautiful in the offensive end. They are just eating up other defenses. But then the other team just comes down and scores again. And then they get to overtime and they get routed because they just don't know how to stop teams. And if they start not scoring, they're going to lose. So I want them to be in the playoffs. So this is wishful thinking that I hope they get some stuff together and they can just go on crazy scoring runs, and Ben Simmons starts playing aggressive defense and turns into a Draymond Green facilitator, and Seth Curry comes back, who underrated, I think, in the way that he shoots. He spreads the floor a lot because he's got such a good 3-point percentage. Every team he's on, they really have to play him. So hopefully that opens the floor a little more.
I think Seth is really good for them because of Simmons. As much as we rag on Simmons, it's kind of like the Steph and Clay. It's like not nearly like that, but the Steph and Clay dynamic that worked so well for years was the idea of like, you have this guy who doesn't need the ball in his hands and covers up for your defensive deficiencies, right? Clay was always guarding the other team's best point guard, right? And then you could put Steph in the corner. Now, Steph has really improved his defense, so I have to give him credit. He's really improved his defense. But Seth was hard to play for Brooklyn before Simmons was there because of the fact they were playing. It was like him and Patty Mills, and you would just get cooked by the other team's point guards, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm very interested to see what Seth looks like when you have someone, when you kind of curry him. You know what I mean? You put him in the...
totally.
It's just funny that the roles are reversed.
It's so funny that they've just switched around, but Curry's going to Curry, you know?
Yeah.
They put him in a situation, and his growth actually has been quite cool to watch. He's a Curry, so I watch him. First of all, to become such a more confident shooter as he does, but playing defense, playing games the right way, getting a lot of minutes in games because he's actively playing. He's in the right positions. He's doing the right things that you should. He's a very smart basketball player, and I'm excited to see what happens when he plays on this team with a lot of talent.
Yeah, I think it's and so okay, that leads into another 1-4 disappointment, which is the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't have as many concerns. I'm not a big Doc Rivers guy. I don't know how many All-Stars this guy has to get before he stops riding on one championship with a team that was, I think we'd both agree, tailor-made to win a championship. You know what I mean?
They better have, right?
Yeah,
if they didn't,
so it would have been. But like, I don't know. Other than Doc Rivers, I don't hate the Sixers roster. I think they'll be fun. I don't know. It's weird. Both teams are 1-4, but I have way more questions, and I could be wrong about the Nets than I do about the Sixers.
Me too. I feel like the Sixers, when people started the season, were like, either it's going to go great or it's going to be exactly what this is.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's really, for some reason, nobody would be really surprised either way. It's like
I'll be honest. I'll be shocked if they don't make the playoffs, because I think you have one. I think whenever you have one of the best players in the world in their prime, which would be Embiid, I think it's tough to not make at least the playoffs. But I mean, he's dealing with a little bit of injury stuff right now. We'll see. That's one maybe in a week or two we kind of come back to and like,
Yeah.
hey, we're this. Whereas the Nets, it's like I feel like every week there's going to be a story. There's
Totally.
always going to be some circus going on there, right?
Totally. And they had a lot of
So-
expectations, so maybe they came out a little worried about those expectations, and we'll see
Yeah, Maxi
come
had all
All-Star break.
the, people thought Maxi was going to blow up, and it's not easy having those expectations as a young player.
Totally.
And then if you go to the West here, I mean, we've kind of beat this horse to death, but the Lakers 0-4. I mean, other than the Portland game,
the Lakers are so funny watching them because they're in these games. They're in all of these games. They have these great runs, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is a good team, and then they just die. It's so strange to watch them because I feel like they have something there. I don't know what I'm watching. I just wonder if we're talking about their threes so aggressively. What if they became more of like a slow-paced team in this NBA? Because they have a lot of like older guys that really drive to the hole, guys that can back you down, really kind of beat you up a little bit. What if and then they shot their threes once in a while? If this is a huge glaring issue, change your culture a little bit.
If you're the Lakers, one, LeBron has always been so good at getting out in transition that you're kind of taking away one of your best weapons. But let's say you do slow it down, it still hurts if you run an offense when you don't have guys who can hit threes, because a lot of these sets are designed. Now I think you're going to be shooting some contested twos, so you're shooting a very low mathematical advantageous shot. So I don't know. I don't know what the fix is.
No, you're not wrong. I get it. But if it's dying this badly, try something.
No, I agree.
You Russell to the bench.
Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, right? And expecting a different result. So I agree. In the West, there's not a lot of like big surprise. I mean, we talked about Portland, obviously. We expected Memphis there. Utah, I know you're doing your Utah podcast after this, so I will touch on that.
Let's go, Talon Horton Tucker.
It's just Jazz Central by starring Sachin Sahil and the three fans. But
John Stockton, Karl Malone, Jeff Hornacek.
No. One day on this podcast, we'll get the thesis as to why Stockton and Malone could have won 6 championships if not for Jordan. But
I can tell you.
Yeah, that exactly. But I guess the only other one on here that I wanted to talk about was the Clippers at 2-3. Now, that's fine. The record isn't the issue. More about like, do we think they're going to ramp it up early, or is this going to be like a season-long progression of having to deal? Because if I'm a fan of the Clippers, I don't want that. As much as you want Kawhi healthy in the playoffs, why do I trust that he in the playoffs will all of a sudden be able to play 40 plus minutes every other night for what you need is 20 plus games to win a championship? Like, that's the part that confuses me. What are you doing right now that's going to help you win a championship in the long run?
I completely agree that I think this is going to be a slow burn and it's going to be very frustrating. But when you watch Kawhi play, basketball looks so easy for this guy. Like, even his poor minutes where he's playing badly, where he's not shooting well, when he plays defense on their best player still, when he's out there and he gets to the rim with relative ease, gets that mid-range spot, shoots it up, nobody can touch him. It just looks so easy for him. So I would want him come playoffs too, because watching him, if he's missed 6 straight shots in a row, the ease at which all those shots happened, I believe that it was like, oh no, he'll hit the next one. This is a weird, something wrong with the rim. Because makes basketball look so easy. If I was the Clippers, if I was worried about him getting injured, but I thought we could still make the playoffs, I mean, it's so annoyingly cautious, and I hate basketball like this. But if I'm an organization, I'm thinking about him in the playoffs. That's it.
I think like for sure they're going to make the playoffs as long as those two stay relatively healthy. I just think more so along the lines of, and I think Giannis talked about this a few years ago. Remember how Budenholzer used to give Giannis like 33 minutes a game? And it was crazy. Once you got to the playoffs, he was still kind of doing that system, and then they would lose. And the question wouldn't be like, can Giannis win? More would it be, why is Giannis sitting so many more minutes in these games than other stars? And then he started playing in more minutes, and it wasn't like Giannis slowed down. You know what I mean? So you need your best players. I mean, it's great when you have 11 deep in the regular season, but 11 deep doesn't really help you in the playoffs that much. Like, you need your 8 guys. You need your starters and those 3 guys off the bench.
I'm a proponent. I'm a proponent of playing your guys. I'm a proponent of getting their reps in, getting their confidence up, playing minutes, playing winning crunch time minutes, playing minutes with different players out there. I want that because that just gets you into a rhythm. Because when you get to the playoffs, it's everything that you've done in the season that gets you there, that you're prepared for it. If you don't do all those little things through the whole season, when you get there, there are little moments that you're like, oh, I didn't know he was going to be there because I didn't do this 600 times.
Yeah. And I think the issue is by the time they get to the playoffs, though, like how many minutes will Kawhi and Paul George have played together, meaningful minutes in round, like starting by round one, will they have played compared to every other team's best two players? You know what I mean?
It's
like
funny. It's funny how we look at players and we think that, oh, you just out there, you're amazing, you're a superstar, you'll make it work. But those little nuances of understanding your player, chemistry matters, and chemistry can only be built. As good as anybody is, you got to build that chemistry over time. That's such an important like facet of the game.
The issue with those two and what we all bought into and why it hasn't worked is, well, you're just putting two excellent two-way wings on the same team. Those two can create their own offense. But that's not the way basketball is played anymore. It's not like I go, you go, I go, you go. It's a team element. I mean, what the Warriors do best. The day of ball dominance is, it might not be gone forever, but right now, the teams that are successful are the ones who are able to move the ball around. You have your Lucas, you have your LeBrons, but like those are the exception to the rule. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're that good that they beat the system.
Yeah, and Paul George and Kawhi, neither of them distribute the ball the way Luka and LeBron do. Not even close, right? So they're only creating offense for themselves a lot of the time, and that's not.
They can't do it. And I was just gonna say, your boy Luka balled yesterday. I watched that game.
Yeah. Oh man,
God, he's a beautiful to watch.
He's
so beautiful to watch basketball, and he's doing it with so much patience and so like it's so much style, but not the style we're used to watching at all. It's just what is he looking at? Where is he seeing? How is he shooting these shots? I worry about his durability. I worry about that team so much because I want him to be successful. And he can't carry them every night like that.
I'll be honest with you, his durability is something I never worry about, only because when I watch him, I feel like I'm watching the opposite of a Ja Morant. Like, I feel like I'm watching not a ton of athleticism, but just like extremely intelligent basketball. And the way he moves, it's not that he's knifing into guys and taking the contact. More so he's letting them kind of fall into him, and then he'll go around. You know what I mean? Like the moves he's making, it's not, I mean, I could be wrong, but he's not someone I worry about just because it's not a lot of like banging bodies. It's a lot of slow burn, you know, like
the reason we love watching him, he's just angles. He's just doing smart, intelligent angles, speeding up when he needs to. You're 100% correct. I think in terms of durability, I worry that
his hamstrings,
team, having to put up 40s, 41, whatever every night over the course of time, when it comes to playoffs, your legs will leave. And we've seen it happen often to a lot of players. Your legs just go because you're playing the same team, and you don't get as much. It just doesn't feel like you get as much rest because you're so amped all the time because you're in the playoffs. Maybe not as much him because he's done this since he was 3 years old or whatever.
I know, he's been doing it forever for someone who's this young.
Yeah, I just want I want him to have somebody else. Like, imagine Luka and Anthony Davis. Like, imagine Luka and Karl Anthony Towns or something like that. Or just something. I want him to have that guy. And then
if you want him to have a big that can stretch the floor, I mean, the jokes about Cat, they're endless, but a prime Cat with a prime Luka would be a lot of fun to watch because obviously Cat can play center in the league and his defense isn't great, but he can kind of keep up. But letting Luka play 5 out or 4 out with him with the ball, with Cat potentially on the wings, I think that would be a lot of fun to watch.
Because I think
I don't think I want to watch Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert. That's the only difference.
Totally. I just think the difference between a young Luka and like for a young LeBron, while they're so similar, Luka offensive weapons this early, it's like he's got so many crazy offensive weapons. His shot is ridiculous. That step back, he can shoot it. It feels like he's passing, but it feels like he could shoot on any play, and they're all good shots. As crazy as they would be for a lot of other players, all his shots look like
no. The difference between the two, I think Luka's offensively way further ahead than LeBron was when he came into the league. But then the flip side is defensively, it's the other way. You know what I mean? And like LeBron's athleticism and try hard on D, where Luka is, I don't blame him. He's gets torched quite a bit because there's a lot asked of him on the other end, right? So, no, that's good. I think that in a couple weeks we'll have a lot more clarity on the
Yeah.
standings, but I'm keeping my eye on a couple teams just to see where. I mean, I know you're laser focused on Utah, so I'll leave that alone. But yeah, let's see where
I
these
love my Jerry Sloan.
juggernauts come in. So I think it'll be fun. But if you had to pick one, gun to your head, you have to make a decision. One of these two teams will not make the playoffs. Is it the Nets or the Sixers?
Sixers.
Sixers. Oh, wow. To me, it's the Nets.
Yeah, and I totally get that. I just want to believe. This is all wishful thinking. I want to believe that Brooklyn Nets are going to be in the playoffs. I want it because KD and Kyrie are so much fun. I just want them in the playoffs. I want that toe on the line at the 3 moment. I want this stuff. I want KD at Rucker.
Be honest. You want the drama.
You
want it all. You want the full experience.
Give it to me. I want to watch the NBA playoffs the way they're supposed to be, and we only have these guys for a couple more years. You know, KD's getting older. I would like just with this team, I want Ben Simmons, Seth Curry,
oh my God,
Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant in the NBA playoffs so badly. So this is just me. I'm manifesting.
And you don't want James Harden in the playoffs. So you're not interested in what this sucks. I have no feeling towards Philadelphia. Philadelphia 76ers are like Wednesday to me right now. And I just don't have an emotion towards them. I mean, they have a lot to cheer about right now. They're in the World Series, the team.
Philadelphia, the city. I love Philly.
Eagles 6-0. Fly Eagles fly.
I know you love.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy right now. I need it. Watching the Lakers, all I do is in the background put on Eagles highlights from this year, and I can find my zen. You know what I mean?
You know, I will totally cheer for them for you this year because I'm watching the opposite happen for the Lakers. Yes. I want you to have something this year. I don't want you to come to this podcast sad.
You would ask me to start a podcast the year that LeBron is just in hell and I'm watching Russell Westbrook and the year LeBron gets Westbrook and Beverly, and you want me to start a podcast?
Hey, we're doing it. We're doing it this year, baby. We had to get it done. That's it.
Yeah,
we're talking about it for too long.
You're right. Next up, guys, we got a little bit of a fun game we wanted to try. Something we've seen online. People doing these drafts. We thought we would come up with our own. This one's gonna be fun because it's one that we both have strong feelings towards certain players for. But I don't know which way he's going, and he doesn't know which way I'm going. But what we decided to go with was everyone always talks about the stars, who are the best players. Draft your best 5, your starting 5. You know, LeBron, Jordan, Kobe, all this stuff. But we want to talk about who are the best Robins of all time. So before we get started, the parameters are: the player that we draft can never have been the best player on a championship team. So who does that eliminate? Well, we can't say Kobe Bryant because he was the best player on a championship team. We can't say Shaq because he was the best player on a championship team. Even though these two did play as Robins on championship teams, they don't count. The other people we eliminated were the Spurs trio. We didn't know which way to go with the Duncan Spurs. We were like, was it Manu Ginobili or Tony Parker? And it was very ambiguous to us. So
yeah, these parameters were my favorite thing to set up because it became so specific. I love the way you set these up. You're like, Sachin, we can't do this. We can't do this. I'm like, all right, dude. The way you set these up, I'm like, you know these parameters so well. We got this.
I think I have a slight advantage because I really, really studied these parameters before coming up with my list. But
you always do. Every week you're setting this up, these brilliant things, and I'm like, oh, how much time has he had to think about these things? And I've got like 5 minutes.
Literally all day. It's all I'm doing. And then when you're like, hey, can we record it too? I'm like, yeah, I'll send you the ideas I have at 1:48.
Oh, we get onto this Zoom at 1:48. We're sitting here. He's like, I think we should do this. I think we should do this. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Oh, you've already been planning this for 2 days.
Yeah, cool. No, I have. So I think we could do this the fairest way possible. How do we decide who goes first?
Let's do a classic coin toss.
Sure. Let's do a coin toss. I think that's fair.
I'm gonna get a coin. 1 sec.
I was gonna be generous and say he can go first because I've had more prep time. I'm Batman to his Superman. But I guess the coin is the most fair way. And I think now
I wouldn't take it. I want a coin. I want this has to go.
But because I was going to offer it to you, I think Karma's going to let me go first.
Well, let's find out. And being the Superman, I want things to be fair. And you, Batman, I don't know how you're going to make this coin go your way. How is this coin going to go your way, Batman?
It's Two-Face's coin. I set it up. I put it there for you. I've been talking about coins for months. preparing for
You
this
knew
moment.
somehow, and somehow you planted it in my apartment here.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to call tails. What was it? Oh, it was heads. All right, it was heads. It was heads. All right.
It's heads.
All right, Sachin. So we got to build our team. We got to build point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. You know the rules. Everyone knows the rules. So let's begin.
Ladies
Who you
and
got
gentlemen.
at point guard? Or you don't have to start with point guard. Who's your first pick? Yeah, who's your first pick?
Okay, that's better because that's how I planned. Because I picked this pick for so many reasons. Because he does everything. He plays defense. He can score. He can assist. He can rebound. He can steal the ball. He can block. He does everything on the basketball court. The consummate glue guy. And also the most important thing, this pick is going to annoy the crap out of you, which is what I love. Ladies and gentlemen, my number one pick for my best number 2 of all time is Scottie Pippen.
It doesn't annoy me. It's just so obvious, like, oh my God, Scottie.
I wanted that eye roll so bad. That is that's the moment I live for.
I will humbly agree that Michael Jordan did have the best teammate of all time. I can't argue with that. Michael Jordan, sometimes you need all the help you can get. And you know what? Scottie Pippen has as many rings as Michael Jordan. Can't have one without the other. So
you're right. 6. You're right. He didn't pick number 1s from other teams and keep bringing them constantly to his other teams, and still only has 4.
Yeah, the Bulls really struggled without Jordan. They didn't win 50 games or anything. Anyways, with my first pick,
after a year and a half of baseball, he came back and still won another one. So that's okay.
When you get suspended for betting, you got to do what you got to do. But
blasphemy, lies.
No, all right. My first pick is a current player. So just like Jordan had his best Robin, I'm going to go with LeBron's best Robin of all time that he had, and that's Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie is a headache. He is a handful to handle. But when you get down to brass tacks of those finals against the Warriors, that was a 73-win team. Kyrie had a 41-point game alongside LeBron. He was unbelievable. Obviously, everyone knows he hit the shot, the three-pointer in Steph Curry's face, which was an insane moment for Cleveland fans. But just the idea of we've seen Kyrie as the best player on Boston, and it was fine. It wasn't anything to write home about. And I don't even know, that was his rookie season with Tatum. I don't know if Kyrie was going to be the best player on Boston for more than a couple of years. But when he is the number 2 with a alpha like LeBron, he is a terror, man. He is so much fun to watch.
Yeah, Kyrie's amazing. He's one of those like players on the offensive end that can look like a point guard or a shooting guard, but my God, he scores the ball.
Yeah.
Like you want him almost to be a guy who's just going to score. That's such a great pick because Kyrie is, I think, a maestro. And for that to be a number 2, that is oof.
Yeah, I'll take that. So, all right, yeah, I got Kyrie at point guard. You got Scottie at small forward. So, where are we going next?
Next, I need bigs were hard for me in this situation. It was tough to find a lot of number 2s that were, centers and power forwards. So I'm just going to jump on this early because I love this team needs ferocity. We need aggression. We need somebody that is going to be out there and be a floor general on the defensive end and be able to get a bucket on the offensive end.
Say no more. Zebo, Zach Randolph at number.
Classic Zebo in Portland. I need that headband. You need it. But my actual number 2 pick is Kevin Garnett on the Boston Celtics.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that Paul Pierce team.
I hate, that's a strong word. I hated watching KG when he was winning because he was so likable in Minnesota. And then he started becoming this like jerk and kind of an a-hole on the court. But I really think that is the absolute best pick you could have made here. Like in terms of
like, can you believe that guy's a number 2 on another team? I just, at that time, you're right. In Minnesota, he was so much fun to watch. My cousin Vivek loved him and had his jersey because he was from, not from Minnesota. Anyways, he loved KG so much. And so growing up, I got to watch him a lot. And then he go to Boston and they won that championship. And I was like, this guy is
he's unreal.
Beast.
I mean, arguably was their best player, but I think most people would kind of concede that to Paul Pierce at that point of KG's career. I mean, KG on both sides of the floor was amazing, but I think that is about as good of a pick as you could have. I mean, you have Scottie Pippen and KG. Your team's looking fire to start this draft. Okay, now this is kind of in retaliation to KG. I didn't think I was going to pick this guy this early, but now I'm nervous because I'm worried that you're going to take him and then you're just going to have amazing ability to stretch the floor and play 2 7-foot plus guys at center and power forward. I'm just going to take Anthony Davis now. I mean, obviously, injuries aside, he is one of the best Robins you could ever have in terms of what he provided for the championship team for the Lakers that year. He's obviously someone in his prime who could lead a team, but I don't see him as ever being. I know the Lakers hoped he would be, but I don't ever see him being the best player on a championship. He doesn't have that Giannis feel to him, you know what I mean? But but on defense, and then when he was shooting the ball well, he does everything, and he makes life miserable for the opposing team on the defensive end. So that's I think AD was someone I thought I might be able to sneak past you. But once you got KG, I was like, I just want to do this now.
AD is such a good choice because people forget who AD was. He's showing glimpses this year, which is really nice. He's out there, doing a lot of good AD things that we remember. But man, he is when he is AD and he's on the floor and he's playing basketball, my God. He was touted as being the next number one in the league at one point because 100%. Of all his ability. And you know what? All that ability is still there. It's just a matter of staying
on the floor, but not on the floor, if you know what I mean.
100%. Not breaking his own ankles.
Yeah. No, I think AD is someone that definitely is trying to show what he has this year. I hope he can fix his mid-range and his shooting, because I don't know what happened to him, but it really
I think it's just
off,
everybody's talking about their shooting. I think that's it. It's just they have to stop thinking, get off, delete Twitter, delete Instagram, and just go shoot.
It's days like this I wish they were the Oklahoma City Lakers, like just not in the heart of LA, the most restored franchise, you know what I mean? But
when every single person in the audience knows every storyline that's happening about every single thing on your team.
Yeah. So I got AD. So we got Scotty and KG for Sachin. We got Kyrie and AD for me. So Sachin, who you got as your third best Robin?
My third best Robin, I'm gonna need a point guard. I'm gonna need somebody to run this offense. But I also would like someone that can push the floor, because I have I got some runners out there. I'm going to go with a long forgotten. We forget how much of a killer this guy was. Penny Hardaway.
Oh,
number 2 to Shaq on that Orlando team. If anybody watched that team, you all know who Penny Hardaway was. You know, the way he plays basketball is like nobody else. There are so many moves people still try to emulate from those couple of years that he did play basketball. So if I could have a point guard who could go against your Kyrie and kind of give him the business, hopefully on the way back, the way Kyrie's going to give him the business. It's going to be Penny Hardaway.
No, I like that pick. I don't know if you remember, it might have been last year, but the Shaq talking about Penny and how he thought Penny could have been as good as Kobe. And I mean, Shaq played with both, and Shaq's not one to give false praises too often. He's actually, I find him to be very critical a lot of the times. But totally. I think that's a really good pick. I mean, we're taking these guys at the peak of their powers, right? In this draft. So Penny peak is someone who definitely would intrigue me to have on my team.
And my team would have little Penny commercials too. Oh man.
Okay, all right. Sure. We
get so much
marketability.
We get so much publicity. The marketability of this team now.
That's a good one. Now you got me thinking of the guard position. Should I just close it out now? I got a couple guys in mind, but I think I'm going to take this one because you're such a big Warriors fan, and the argument could be made between two guys. Everyone's going to know who I'm talking about. Obviously, was Steph the best player or was KD? So I think I'm going to take Steph. No, I'm just kidding.
How dare you? You can't take him. Parameters, Justin.
I know the parameters I came up with. Changing the rules on the fly. No, I'm going to go with Klay Thompson. Now, I was thinking about Draymond, but I think for what the purpose of this exercise is, building a team, I think I'm going to find a lot of interior defense, because when you get to these second best players, when they're bigs, their defense is usually something they're stalwarts at. So finding shooting as elite as Klay, especially if someone with playing with Kyrie, who is going to have the ball in his hand a lot, then Klay covers up on defense, all of Kyrie's deficiencies, and then he can just shoot the lights out of the ball. So I think Klay is where I'm going to go.
That's great. And Klay, 27 points in one quarter, Klay.
Yeah.
God, that Klay. And I want him to come back so badly.
Me that we will play the Sacramento Kings every game? because then I think Clay was the first pick and only pick in this entire draft.
No, I can't promise that, but man, that would be a fun parameters. If
Yeah.
you're only playing the Sacramento Kings every game,
Who do you draft?
who
Flip the
is your
coin.
team?
That will determine the winner of this draft.
Can I redraft Mike Bibby, Peja Stojakovic?
Oh my God, Mike Bibby,
God.
what a throw! Have you seen how jacked he is now? It's crazy.
Oh, humongous. God,
He looks
that
like the
man is-
Rock.
Oh, I some of those before now, I thought that was fake. I thought that was CGI on Instagram.
Yeah,
Then somebody sent it to me, and I'm like, no, that's Mike Bibby.
I thought it was Mike the bouncer Bibby. Like I didn't know what I was looking at.
Yeah, no, he's
right.
huge. Good for
So
him.
we got three guys each. You got Scotty, KG, and Penny. I got Kyrie, AD, and Clay. So looks like you need a guard and a big, and
Mhm.
I need a big and a forward. I need 2 forwards. So
Okay, so I understand the parameters. I do. But on this team, there was a 1 and there were 2 1.5s. So I'm going to pick the second 1.5 on this team. People say he was a third, but if they saw him play in Seattle, they would know that he was a number 2 and as important on that team, and is a big reason why your LeBron James has another championship. Ladies and gentlemen, Ray Allen at my 2 guard.
Oh my God, I feel like I'm talking to Skip Bayless, the biggest shot in the history of sport. Like, oh yeah,
It was.
I love Ray Allen. So go ahead.
That shot was unbelievable. Ray Allen is before Steph Curry came along, and now they are together hoisting the flag of my favorite player. Watching him play basketball in Milwaukee and Seattle, he led that Seattle team to a 50-win season that should not have been anywhere. Look like they're playing with college kids. No disrespect to any of these names. You were all young at the time. Luke Ridnour, Rashard Lewis. I can't even remember who their center was. It was just the way he was shooting the lights out and the way he played basketball, averaging 28 a game, 50, 45, and 45. He's a masterpiece, and he knows how to play within your offense, which is why we saw him go to Boston and Miami and really take a backseat at a time that he was at its peak. So on this team, we'll need that. We need somebody who's just going to come in, shoot those threes, do all the right things, and play the game. And some nights take over if he needs to. And plus, I just love that. I want that shot every night. I want to see it.
I don't hate the pick. I mean, listen, Ray Allen, I think we both agree he got game.
Yeah, he got game. I wore he got game hoodie on our first podcast.
I know, but I made the pun, so I know it's eating you up inside. Just a
I'm
little bit.
I'm actually proud of you.
Yeah,
I'm very
okay,
proud of
good.
you.
I'm happy. Anyways, no, that's a good pick. I think Ray Allen's done a lot of good things in his career. One of the things that this team needs for both of us, which Kyrie probably doesn't have now, but in his peak was understanding, is the ability to understand you are a number 2. That is a valuable asset. Like knowing you aren't the guy increases your value to the team. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, so Ray Allen is a really, really good pick. But I think I'm going to go with, speaking of that era, a little bit later, but Kobe had 2 bigs he played with that were elite. No. Shaq was, yeah, there it is. No. Shaq was good, obviously the better one, but Pau Gasol coming in and not only doing his job, but elevating the way he did in the playoffs and just being that force in the post, great defense, everything that you would have asked him to do, he did. Pau Gasol is my pick because I'm moving AD to center where he loves to play. And I'm going to have Pau Gasol play the power forward, and those two can interchange. And I mean, I think that is a dynamic scoring front court for me.
It's formidable. I love Pau. Pau is my choice for sure. I'm so sad. I was thinking of this being like, oh, for sure I got Pau. I can take him. I don't know why I didn't take him. You weren't going to take Ray Allen. I should have just taken Pau and then Ray.
I'd never thought of taking Ray Allen.
This was bad drafting on my account. I was just looking for the excitement of drafting Ray, and I got too amped. This is what happens in my fantasy league too. I get too excited
about your guys.
I had to learn this year. To really just take it easy. Anyways, Pau, great choice. Great.
I'm happy to have him. I mean, the only thing with Ray Allen versus Pau is Ray Allen showed for years that he could be the best in the league at something. So I get why you would want to take a player like that. Whenever you can get a Robin who can be the best at something, which is why I like Clay, right? Like he has the potential to be the best catch and shoot player in the entire league. That's where I think you kind of gain an advantage having that guy who can take over again. I'm not sure Pau's that guy. KG is that guy in this prime.
Oh,
So
I still would have taken Ray. I just should have drafted him last, knowing full well you weren't going to draft him.
You definitely could have had Pau and Ray. So all right, you got one more pick. It looks like because you've got Pippen, Garnett, Hardaway, and Gasol. So I mean, you might want
Ray Allen, not Gasol. You have Gasol.
So and Ray Allen. Excuse me. So I mean, center or power forward, you probably need to fill that spot.
I need a big, and if I can't have Pau, I'm going to. This is going to be a pick a lot of people forgot about. I need you to remember this guy, who he was. This guy, night for night, would go against prime Shaq. He had moves at that time that people really hadn't seen for bigs. He played. He can stretch the floor in the mid range in a very interesting way. He can play face up. He got a lot of blocks. And ladies and gentlemen, he's 7'4". Yao Ming.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Bull.
Yeah. Oh, I should have taken Bull. He can shoot the three.
Yeah.
Or even his son.
Yao Ming. That's
Yao
a good
Ming.
one.
Because like knowing you can go up against prime Shaq and have that many you can still rebound, you can still score, you're tall, so you're protecting the paint. And having that anchor there behind a bunch of guys who want to go out there and just run the ball and score. I think Yao is a underrated center in this league that we don't talk about very often anymore.
Marketability wise, it's through the roof. Your owner's gonna be thrilled having.
Oh my God,
guy.
Little Penny and Yao, we are the most marketable team in the history of the NBA.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. You got a whole country on your side. I should have taken a Canadian or something.
No, it's okay. Canada watches basketball regardless. We'll watch it with anybody.
Yeah, no, I think the Chinese market also would be thrilled to have Yao on any team that wasn't Houston after Daryl Morey's comments. But
legitimately,
that's a good pick.
What's your team?
I got Kyrie. So I got the little kid shoes market nailed. Can't touch me.
Done and done.
I got AD. So I've got the reactin and all the things for your back.
The eyebrow tweezing is really going to take a hit.
I got Clay, which I don't think there's very much
boats.
There. Boats, yeah, boats. You're
boats
right.
And dogs.
I got Pau Gasol. By the way, now we're talking about Pau Gasol. Yeah, Spanish market. Speaking of Spanish market, I have a very funny Pau Gasol story. So you know this, but the audience won't know this. My mom is a huge Rafael Nadal fan, and so she's traveled to all of the majors to go watch him play. So one night they happened to be in the same hotel going for dinner that Nadal was at, and who should walk in? My dad recognized immediately Pau Gasol. Now, Pau Gasol is good friends with Rafael Nadal. I guess all these Spanish guys, they kind of get together. And my mom saw that Pau was going to this dinner, walked up to him and asked, "Is Rafael Nadal in there?" Clueless to the fact that she's talking to an NBA superstar at the time.
He's like 7'2".
She couldn't care less. She just wanted to know, where is Rafa?
My Auntie, you're brilliant.
He is.
But this is Justin's mom, though.
Yeah,
my mom, she is a powerhouse. Like that is
no fear. You know what I mean?
No fear. Walking for their auntie, stroll through this life with that powerhouse has been like, that is something to be marveled at.
And I think the fact that he was Pau Gasol frustrated her because she feels to this day that she didn't get a chance to meet Nadal there because she embarrassed an NBA player. Whereas if it was just one of the entourage, that guy might have just let this crazy fan walk in to meet Nadal. You know what I mean? Like Pau was the reason she didn't get into that room.
Oh my God. She hates Pau Gasol from now on. She's like, I hate this
my draft. Yeah.
I can't believe it.
There's a happy
ending. Auntie, number one pickleball champion in Edmonton.
Yes, number one pickleball. You're right. But there is
a
happy ending of the story. She at the U.S. Open, we ended up staying at we all went as a family, staying at the same hotel that Nadal was staying at. I don't know how she found that out. This is some next level stuff. But we walked into the workout room and Nadal was there. Took a picture with him. She was so happy. By the way, none of us are in that picture. Just in case you're wondering, she has 3 kids. None of us are in that picture.
I'm not surprised at all. That's Brenda Auntie's moment. She's going to take it.
Yeah, she didn't want to share that with anyone. So, Pau, I formally apologize for my mom. This is my way of repaying you by drafting you to my team. So,
I say, Brenda Auntie, don't change a hair.
Yeah, I don't think she should either. Okay, so I need a forward here because I'm rocking Pau and AD at the alternating center and power forward. So I think the ultimate 2022 Robin that we've seen a few years ago is someone who kind of complements the best player on his team in a way that Robins usually don't. So in the 90s, a Robin would be like the point guard to the best center, right? But we don't really have best centers now. We have best, like, can do it all type of players. And Giannis is the type of guy who he can play the 5, but is optimally the 4. It doesn't play like any center we've seen, but who is his Robin? A knockdown outside shooter, long, athletic, can guard all 4 of the 5 spots, and that's Chris Middleton. Least sexy pick for sure out of these 10. But
if you know basketball, you know that is not a sexy pick, because Middleton is, I think Chris Middleton is the most underrated player in the NBA. I think what he does for that team, what he does, the way he plays basketball, I don't know why nobody talks about Chris Middleton, but he is the most underrated player in the NBA. If you look at his numbers, if you look at him on
those
fantasy
playoff games, he became an alpha in a couple of those end games.
He is sick. When Giannis goes down, the way he took over on so many of those games, Chris Middleton is we'll never his loyalty with Milwaukee and the way he plays with Giannis. I don't know if we're ever going to see him on a different team. To see what it would be like if he was the number 1. I love where he's at with this team, to be honest.
I think he's in a perfect spot too. Me too. Right?
Yeah.
I think worst case he leaves. He does like a Jeremy Grant, where I wish to this day Jeremy Grant stayed with Denver, because I thought it was a great fit there. Yeah. I almost don't want to see Middleton, go and try and be the guy, because I think he is kind of the guy in those last 5 minutes in terms of taking the outside shots, right? Like
totally. It's just a way because you're paired with Giannis, nobody will talk about you because they're talking about Giannis, but we all should be talking about Chris Middleton like we're talking about some of these elite 2 guards in our league.
Yeah.
Small forwards too, yeah.
And that's something we were talking about earlier. Knowing you can be the second best player and being okay with that is such a valuable asset in this league. I mean, what do we start the podcast with? Russell Westbrook coming off the bench, and that's like a 20-minute conversation, because it's like we're walking on eggshells, so scared. How's Russ going to react to this, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, totally. This is actually generally why I think Milwaukee is so successful, because nobody talks about them till after the All-Star break, when we start looking at records.
Yeah.
Up until then, we're all just hearing them, like they're like, oh, Giannis is scoring, Middleton's scoring, oh, they won again, great. Then after the All-Star break, when it comes to the standings and where playoff things lie, we see Milwaukee up there and we're like, oh yeah, Milwaukee, they're beasts.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, come playoffs, we start watching them and being like, oh, we should have been watching this team all year. We do this every year with Milwaukee.
I remember before they won the championship, all I ever used to hear about Milwaukee was Giannis's per 36s. Oh my God, Giannis is per 36, is per 36. I'm like, you know what, man? Like, it's great and he's excellent. He's so good. But like, can I see that in the playoffs? And then once he kind of got over that hurdle, it became like they're an afterthought, because the expectation is they'll be there. It's not an afterthought like they won't succeed. It's like, well, of course they're going to succeed. Let's just see if they win it all. Right. Yeah, and that's a good thing. Like, that's impressive on them, that with that core and bringing in Drew Holiday, which I think was an excellent move, they were able to kind of just flip the narrative on them completely.
Yeah, and they're so much fun to watch. I love that per 36 stat, because it really just means that somebody's not playing a lot.
Yeah, like his eliteness was shown to be still elite after they increased his minutes, but at the time he was just not playing as much as you would have wanted a superstar to play. But they're winning those games, and I get why. But anyway, so we got our 5. So we want to know what you guys think. We just to recap, Sachin's got I'm going to go from point guard to center for both of us. So Sachin's got Penny Hardaway, Ray Allen, Scottie Pippen, KG at the 4, with Yao Ming patrolling the lane at the 5.
Done.
I've got Kyrie and Clay. I've got Chris Middleton, Pau Gasol, and Anthony Davis. So I kind of like where my team's at, but
I want to see him play.
Yeah, I
want to see those two teams play. That would be fun.
We simulated on 2K.
Why can't we? We can do anything on 2K now.
Yeah, we can literally do that on 2K. So
I can put my face on 2K. It never looks like me, but I can do that.
You build a Sachin. They already have me on 2K. It's just Luca, but I can just tone.
Justin, how would they get that hair on 2K? I don't know if that's an option that they can do for you. Yeah.
Oh, this duck bill.
Oh God, that floof is just so pristine. How would they do that?
Hold on, let me adjust. Is this better?
Let me see it. Let me see what it can do. Oh yeah, no, it's just beautiful.
Oh yeah, look at the flight on this bad boy. Anyways, this has been fun. So looking forward to the games this weekend, and we'll be back next week. with another episode of the BGB, which of course stands for
Brown Guys Basketball Podcast. Play my theme song, Justin.
See you guys.
These two brown guys love basketball. Brown guys love basketball. Who doesn't love basketball? So let's talk basketball. I said, let's talk basketball.